Dear students, today let us start with the next topic of your lesson, life processes, respiration. Starting with respiration, what is the definition? How we define it? It is in fact a biochemical process in which the food is broken down in the body cells to release energy in the form of ATP. So it is of two types. Number one, anaerobic respiration, and second is the aerobic respiration. Starting with the anaerobic respiration, it is in fact the incomplete breakdown of the glucose in the body cells in the absence of oxygen. So here it takes place in yeast as well as in animals. In yeast, what happens to the glucose? This glucose in the absence of oxygen get converted into ethanol, releasing carbon dioxide and energy. The amount of energy which is being released here, it is 2 molecules of ATP. Whereas in animals, in our body, if I say, we also show the muscles at times show anaerobic respiration. It occurs when we perform vigorous exercise. At that time, there is a deficiency of oxygen in the muscle cells. So, glucose is converted into lactic acid over there. No carbon dioxide is being released and the amount of energy which is being released is very less. Aerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration means it is the breaking down of the food, or you can say the complete breakdown of glucose in the body cells to release energy in the presence of oxygen. Chemical equation is also being given over here. That is C6H12O6. It is a glucose molecule plus 6O2, 6CO2 plus 6H2O, and finally the ATP is being released. This amount of ATP is 38 molecules of ATP. If you can just see the whole the flow chart and try to understand the respiration with the help of this one. This flow chart has been taken from your textbook only. Here you can see glucose is first of all converting into pyruvate. Then you can see in the formation of ethanol, then the formation of here carbon dioxide, water, energy, and in the center one you can see the formation of lactic acid and energy. A very important thing that has to be noticed, please, in the body cells, the glucose has to be converted into pyruvate first before it makes its entry into the mitochondria. So glucose is a 6-carbon molecule, and when it breaks, it converts into 2 molecules of pyruvate, which are the 3-carbon compounds. Now, this breaking down of the glucose into pyruvate here, it occurs in the cytoplasm, and this process is known as the glycolysis. Now, when the pyruvate is being formed, now this pyruvate is further being broken down. In the mitochondria and in presence of oxygen, this pyruvate is completely broken down into carbon dioxide, water and energy. Whereas in case of yeast, in the absence of oxygen, it is converted into ethanol, then carbon dioxide and energy. In the muscle cells, in our muscle cells, that is again being written over here, the lack of oxygen. This pyruvate, which is a 3-carbon compound, is converted into lactic acid, which is again a 3-carbon compound. So you can see no carbon dioxide is released and that some amount of energy is also being given out. Now, respiratory organs. Different organisms have got the different type of organs for respiration. If we just start moving to the protozoa, especially the amoeba here, you can see the amoeba is a unicellular organism. It respires, it is aquatic, and it respires only by means of its cell membrane. So the air rich in oxygen, it diffuses through the membrane into its body, into its cell, and the carbon dioxide from the body diffuses into the environment. Second comes the insects. Here I have mentioned the spiracles. What are these spiracles? So insects have the respiratory organs are called as spiracles. These spiracles, they are the holes, the pores, which are present in pairs, especially on its body segments. Each pore is known as the spiracle. So through the spiracle, the air enters inside the body. This is the spiracle over here, and it leads into the trachea. Then trachea finally branches. You can see the final branches over here, and these branches, they move into the tissues, and in this way you can say the transport of oxygen occurs. In the same way, from the tissues, the carbon dioxide taking the same path moves out. Then the third one is the earthworm. Is made in the skin. There are organisms which respire by means of skin. So earthworm, normally it has got a moist skin. Oxygen from the environment diffuses through its skin into its body, and the carbon dioxide from the body, it moves out. Let us now move to the vertebrates. The first one is the fish. Fishes are aquatic organisms. They have the gills for draining oxygen from the water, and then they remove the carbon dioxide back into the water. Last comes the lungs. The respiration through lungs is called as pulmonary respiration, and we show the pulmonary respiration here. The respiratory system of the human being is also being shown. So we'll be studying it in the next slide. Aerobic respiration now. To understand it, it has the two main steps. Number first is breathing, and the second is the cellular respiration. Breathing now is just a physical process of intake of air rich in oxygen and giving out of air rich in carbon dioxide. So you can say that breathing involves two steps. Number first, inhalation, and second is the exhalation, or inspiration and expiration. Second step is the cellular respiration. Once the air or the oxygen, air comes in the lungs, and from the lungs the oxygen diffuses into the blood. Now this oxygen moves into the cells, and here the breaking down it helps in the breaking down of the food to release the energy. So cellular respiration involves three steps. You can see the first step is the glycolysis, where the glucose is being broken down into pyruvic acid or the pyruvate in the cytoplasm. Second is the Krebs cycle, and the third one is electron transport system. Remember, the Krebs cycle as well as the electron transport system, both of them, they occur in the mitochondria. Passage of air in the respiratory system. How the air moves? See, air rich in oxygen, it moves into a nostril. It's always said, though we can breathe even by means of the mouth also, oral cavity also, but it's always advised we should breathe through the nostrils, because nose consists of the fine hairs which filter the air, and the filtered air moves into our respiratory system. Nostrils leads into the nasopharynx. From the nasopharynx, the air moves to our larynx. Larynx is a voice box which consists of the vocal cords. The larynx leads into the trachea into bronchioles, then bronchioles into the alveoli, and alveoli consist of the blood capillaries. Through the blood capillaries, the oxygen diffuses into the blood, and in the blood, it converts into oxyhemoglobin by combining with the hemoglobin, and in this way, it is being transported to the tissues. Now, the same way In the tissues, what will happen? The carbon dioxide will be formed as a result of breaking down of the food. So carbon dioxide in the tissues, it has been mentioned here. This carbon dioxide in the tissues, it diffuses into the blood in the form of bicarbonates, carbaminohemoglobin, or in dissolved form. Then from there it moves into the blood capillaries in the alveoli, and then to the alveolis to bronchioles, then bronchi and trachea, larynx, nasopharynx, nasal chamber, nostril, and finally the atmosphere. This is the passage which you have to remember. This is the respiratory system of our body. The diagram has been taken from your textbook. You can see the various parts. See that this is a nasal passage, can be seen easily. The mouth cavity is being shown, and the pharynx, the larynx, which is called the voice box, and here the trachea. This trachea, you can see the ring-like structures over here. These rings are made up of the cartilage, and which prevents the collapsing of this you can say windpipe or the trachea. Now this trachea, it branches into two parts which are called the bronchi, and this each bronchi now moves into the lungs, the left lung and the right lung. Remember the left lung now. This one is the left lung and this one is the right lung. Left lung, it is divided into two lobes, the superior lobe as well as the inferior lobe, whereas the right lung is divided into three lobes, the superior lobe, the inferior lobe as well as the middle lobe. So you can say the three lobes are, the right lung is divided into three lobes, whereas left lung is divided into two lobes. Now within the lungs, you can say the bronchi, they redivide into fine branches. Here you can see, and these each branch leads into the sacs which are called the alveoli. These are the air sacs. These lungs are present inside, you can say, the thoracic cavity. Thoracic cavity is also known as the chest cavity. You can see a muscular flap over here which is known as the diaphragm. This diaphragm, it divides the body cavity into two parts. The upper part is called the thoracic cavity or the chest cavity, and the lower part is known as the abdominal cavity. Now in it here, each lung now, if I say, it consists of a membrane which is known as the pleura. It is protected by that, and in between the pleura, a fluid is present which just maintains the shape and the structure of the lungs. Say this is the structure of the lungs again. Here you can see the pleural membrane, especially the pleural cavity now, and here the diaphragm. The lower part, this dome-shaped structure is called the diaphragm. It's a muscular structure which is dividing the body cavity into two regions, and here it's the trachea, rings of cartilage, bronchioles, and the bronchi can be easily seen. Now this is the diagram which is showing the bronchi, especially bronchioles inside the alveoli. This you can see sacs, air sacs now. They are richly supplied with the blood capillaries, and their membranes are very thin. They are moist, and as a result they help especially in the easy diffusion of the gases. Mechanism of breathing now. Mechanism of breathing involves, as I told you, the breathing is a physical process. So the two steps were there, the inhalation and exhalation, or we call it inspiration or expiration. Inspiration or expiration. So what are these two processes? Inspiration, it means that when this is a process of inhaling, you can say, of the air rich in oxygen, versus expiration or exhalation means removing of air rich in carbon dioxide. Here you have to remember one principle, that is the volume. Volume is the space. So it depends on the volume of the thoracic cavity and the pressure of air in the lungs. Remember, when the volume of the thoracic cavity It increases the pressure of air in the lungs decreases because lungs are present inside the thoracic cavity. As a result, the air rich in oxygen starts rushing from the atmosphere into the lungs. In this, here you have to remember one more thing, that air always diffuses from the region of high partial pressure towards the low partial pressure. Now, expiration or you can say the exhalation. Just opposite to it. Now, when the volume of the thoracic cavity decreases, the pressure of air in the lung increases. So now in the lungs, the air is rich in carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide will start rushing out from the lungs into the atmosphere. This movement, you can say, of the thoracic cavity especially, or the volume, you can say the volume depends on the contraction and relaxation of the muscles of the ribs as well as the diaphragm. See here the mechanism of the breathing. What is happening here? You can see the lungs, the diaphragm. In case of inhalation, what is happening? The diaphragm is pulled downwards, and the rib cage moves upwards and forward. So the volume increases over here. In second case, the diaphragm moves upwards, and the rib cage moves inwards and downwards. As a result, the volume decreases, so the pressure in the lungs will increase, and exhalation will take place. Next topic is the transport of gases in the blood. How the gases are being transported. See, you can see in this diagram, the alveoli has been shown. Now what is happening here? From the alveoli, the oxygen is moving from alveoli into the blood, and carbon dioxide now it is moving from the blood capillaries into the alveoli. So there are the two gases, mainly the oxygen as well as the carbon dioxide. How oxygen is being transported? As soon as oxygen comes in the blood, it combines with the hemoglobin, the red pigment which is present in the RBCs, and is being transported to the body cells. Near about, you can say, 97% of oxygen is being transported in the form of oxyhemoglobin. Remaining 3% remain dissolved in the blood plasma and is being transported. Second is the carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is formed in the body cells. It is transported from the tissues or the body cells in the blood in the form of bicarbonates or as carbaminohemoglobin and in dissolved form. So you can say near about 70% or 71% it is being transported in the form of bicarbonates. 21-23% it is being transported as carbaminohemoglobin, and remaining in the form of dissolved form. This is an experiment which shows that carbon dioxide is evolved during respiration. It is generally being asked also in the examination. So what you have to do here, you have to take a conical flask and a germinating seeds are being kept over here. These germinating seeds, they respire, and as a result of respiration, they produce the carbon dioxide. This is an airtight, you can say, conical flask, and here KOH solution in a test tube is being hanged over here. A bent tube is being placed over here, and this bend, one end of the bent tube is inside this conical flask, and the other end is inserted inside a beaker containing the water. Now what you find, as you make the setup, what you will find that you see the level of water over here. You'll find initial level of the water first here. As soon After some time, what will happen? You will see that the level of the water, initial water, it just moves up. This is the final level of the water. What is the reason behind that? Why the water has been lifted up? Because this KOH, it absorbs the carbon dioxide which is being released and which was present over here. As a result, the vacuum is being created just to fulfill it, and due to the formation of the vacuum, the level of the water from this beaker, it just rises up. Now, respiration in plants. Plants also show respiration. So they have different organs for respiration. Number first, you all know about it, that is the stomata. These stomatas we have already discussed in the topic nutrition. These are the pores which are present on the surface of the leaves. They are more on the lower surface as compared to the upper surface. Each stomata consists of two guard cells and surrounded by the epidermal cells. When the stomata open, then the water in the form of water vapor, it just moves out, and you can say carbon dioxide diffuses inside it, and oxygen produced as a result of photosynthesis, it just moves out. Here you have to remember one thing: even the plants during respiration, they take oxygen and they give out carbon dioxide. Second is the lenticels. The lenticels, these are the pores which are present in the cork of the plant or the bark of the trees. When the leaves are shed, then at that time these lenticels enables the easy diffusion of the gases. Third comes the root hair. These root hairs which help especially in the absorption of water and minerals from the soil. They also are responsible for the gaseous exchange also. This is all about the topic respiration, and see you in the next video with a new topic, that is a transportation. Thank you very much.